Here is a video for all the pool chemicals. This pool has an upper skimmer and a lower drain. Both the drain and the skimmer pipe in right here. There's a shutoff for the drain to have additional vacuum pressure for the skimmer when you go to vacuum with it. Those both go through the pump, into the filter, out the filter, and back into the pool via this pipe right here. This is a gas line for a natural gas grill. On top of the filter, there's something called a spider valve. This thing right here, you push down and turn it into different positions. When the pump is turned off, you can turn the pump off via this breaker switch right here. That's the pump being off. We can come over here to the spider valve and go to, we'll say, backwash. This is a pressure gauge on the filter. Our normal pressure when it's properly backwashed and clean is somewhere around 12 to 13 psi. When it gets about 10 psi over that, you have to backwash. So switch the spider valve to backwash and open up the backwash shutoff that I installed so we don't lose water. Bing! And that water all drains off out here into the yard. Be sure to close the backwash shutoff when you're done and switch it back to the filter setting and turn the pump back on. And it self-primes. You just have to give it, probably about 30 seconds or so. And there it goes. We have a pretty simple chemical setup that involves pH test strips, shock, which is like really strong chlorine, and then chlorine tablets. Right now, since the pool is balanced, it only requires adding 2 chlorine tablets directly to the skimmer about every 5 days. It'll eat through 2 chlorine tablets, but that keeps everything perfectly balanced to this chart along with these strips. How you use these, it's actually on the bottle, but you just dip one of those in the pool probably about 2 hours after adding any chemicals. And if all of the colors match up correctly, you're in good shape. If not, you might need to add some more chlorine, but unless it's opening part of the year, that's all you should have to do. If you do find yourself low on chlorine, you can add a capful of the turbo shock, and that will take care of it. In closing the pool for the year, these handrails actually pull straight up and out. There's no locking mechanism to them. You just grab and pull up on both of them. And as for the diving board, there are 2 bolts. Let's see, here and here. Those are the 2 bolts. They have plastic covers over them. You can remove the diving board for the winter. It might make it a little easier for putting the cover on. It's not 100% necessary, but we have done it both the years that we've had the pool up and going. As far as water level goes, I find that keeping the water level at or above this top step on this little ladder right here is a good measuring indicator of where the water needs to be. If you have a very dry summer, you may end up having to get the hose out and fill the water up, maybe once every 2 weeks or so, until it's above this. You can get too much water into where it's actually above the top of the skimmer. This little guy here is a chlorine tablet dissolver. I don't use it because I find that putting them directly into the skimmer is a little bit better for my application, but you can use it if you like to have slower dissolution of the tablets. Boy, I'm holding my phone right over the water here. This is a thermostat, and right now the water is 80 degrees. Pretty comfortable. End of May here. The last thing to talk about is vacuuming. Vacuuming doesn't have to happen very often, probably a half dozen times a year. If you're maintaining your skimmer properly and keeping things out of it, it really does take the majority of things out of the water. And the drain helps as well. However, vacuuming can be quite interesting. So, we're going to take one of these and plug it into the vacuum head. And then the other end is going to plug in below the skimmer basket. But first we actually have to fill up the hose with water. So you would toss the entire hose into the water and submerge it and then bring over one end of it, the end that's not hooked up to the pool head, or the pool vacuum head, and fill it with water by holding it in front of that jet. While keeping it underneath the water, walk it over here, or rather crawl it over here because it's kind of impossible to walk the distance. Bringing it through the front of the skimmer, you're going to plug it right into this hole down there, which goes directly to the pump. And that is going to give you all the vacuum pressure that the pump has to offer. This is the vacuum head. We're going to take our hose and just push that on there. Kind of a hard fit, but that's a good thing because it does have a lot of vacuum pressure going through, and you want it to be sealed tight. The vacuum head end connects to one of these poles. These poles are very easy to pop the attachments off of. Just squeeze the little tabs here and it pulls right out. There are two poles. One's got a brush on it down there, and this one. And when you're finished, don't forget to put the skimmer basket back in so that it can catch all those good floaties on the way down. And we'll add our 2 tablets back in as well.